Hi guys, this is the advisor and welcome back to my channel. Guys, this video is not for the faint-hearted. If you never used to like scary movies, in other words, or as in Jamaica, if you never used to like Dopey Show, this video is not for you. Because I'm about to relay one of the most brutal and excruciating episodes of torture that has ever been recorded in the annals of Jamaica's criminal history. And guys, I don't use those words lightly. It is exactly as I say it is. Guys, there's this little rich kid called Matthew Hyde. Now, let me give you a little bit about Matthew Hyde. His father is a big businessman in Jamaica. In fact, here he runs business not only in Jamaica but also overseas. And his father is a very rich man. I know that Matthew Hyde has at least one brother, an elder brother. But one thing I know for sure is that Matthew Hyde was mollycoddled from he was young. He's a spoilt kid. As he opened him out and saying want this or him want that, his parents just gave it to him. He grew up in a posh home with everything to his comfort, and as him opened him out and saying want that, him get it. So he is the epitome of a spoilt child. Matthew Hyde feels entitled. And because of his upbringing, nobody could tell him no. Because as long as he was alive, because from the day he was born, neither his mom or dad ever told him no. And guys, when I say that, don't take that as an absolute, because we know there must have time when they might have said no, a little token no here and there. But so don't get too technical with me. As a matter of fact, when he was going to start university, his parents bought him a car. Brand new car right here, just like that. Now, with this young man growing up his entire life with this level of entitlement, isn't it obvious that depends on his inner personality that he wasn't going to let any girl tell him no? So, when he went to university, he met this young lady and he fell for her, or he felt that this is one of the toys he wished to play with. And you know him. Selfish, egotistic, self-aggrandizing, arrogant, domineering. Yeah man, you get my drift? That was him. When he found this girl and they started a relationship, she became his property, his personal toy, his thing to play with. I hear that he stopped her from talking to other males or even saying hello to other males. He called her several times a day, even when she was in class and had to turn off her phone, because that's that rule up at the UWI. You can't have your phone going off in class. He would rox her off when she get out of class and turn on the phone and ask who she was with, why she couldn't answer her phone. He took her phone from her all the while and searched the phone. As a matter of fact, I hear that if she go home for a weekend and come back, he actually stripped her off, because she complained to one of her friends on the dorm that if she go home for a weekend, when she come back on Monday morning or Sunday night, he would actually take off her underwear and search her to see if she had intercourse with anybody else. Well, how that can prove anything, I don't know, but I'm just telling you what I heard. Eventually, the young lady felt trapped. She felt smothered. She felt that she was living her life through him. She felt that she was breathing not on her own, but breathing through his nostrils. She was beginning to question her own values, her own self-worth. Well, as would happen, eventually she got so fed up of that type of life that made the poor young girl feel that she was living in bondage. So she broke it off with him. She tell him say she doesn't want to see him and she doesn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. She was on campus for the rest of that week and she didn't speak with him. And on the weekend, just as not to buck him up or have anything to do with him, she went home on the Friday evening and spent the weekend and only come up for class on the Monday. Now, who tell her fi go do that? My man get bringle. After class that afternoon, him ask her to come up to his room because he just needed to discuss and just clear up everything, Ray and so on and so forth. Remember now, she had left on the 3rd of February to go home. That's Friday the 3rd. And had come up back for class on Monday, February 6th. After class that evening, he met up with her and told her, listen, you have some things in my room, and since you no longer want to be with me, come to my room and take your things out. She asked him for the key, and he said no, he wouldn't give it to her. He will come up and he'll open the door for her and let her in. Because she, of course, is now no longer entitled to hold his keys. So she followed him up to his room. And that evening, as soon as she entered the room, he locked the door and her nightmare began. First of all, he burnt her on her 2 breasts, including her left nipple. Now, can you imagine how excruciatingly painful for somebody to take a hot pressing iron and put it on your flesh? Then he burnt her on both of her shoulder blades. He burnt her on her belly, pressed the iron on her belly. He pressed the iron on the 2 sides of her buttocks. He pressed the iron on her forehead. Hot iron. He branded her on her left jaw, on her right jaw, on her nose, on her chin. And it was so bad that pieces of her flesh came off on the iron face. So this was no warm iron. And the thing is, he didn't do this like for one day or at one time. After branding her for a certain time, and she was so excruciatingly in pain and getting to ego, what he do? He send her into the bathroom and put her under the shower to cool down the burns. And then he began the torture again. He tied her to the bedpost. And she was kicked, she was boxed, she was thumped. Or as you foreigners would say, she was punched. So I don't really know the order in which he assaulted parts of her body. But over the next 3 days, he did not even go to class. He locked her in and just tortured her constantly over several days. And of course, she was stripped naked during all this time. He took pictures of her naked and posted it to one of his friends just to humiliate her. He posted some of these pictures on his WhatsApp status and even had one up as his profile picture for a little while. So you can see the extent that he had gone to do what he did to her. Right, so what could have caused this? First of all, let's backtrack a bit. When he took her up to the room, as usual, him search her. As you say, like she a foul or she belonged to him in personal private property, which of course is what he consider any woman him a deal with. Everything in the world is at his behest. That was the level of narcissism in this fellow. So he claimed that she had cheated on him. So he had taken away her cell phone or her tablet. Some say cell phone, some say tablet, and searched through it and found some message that he considered to be proof that she had cheated. That is, of course, as soon as they had went into the room on the 6th of February. There were times when him squeeze her throat and wait till she passed out, then him release the throat because he didn't want to kill her. He even began to question her. Listen to how this little boy are evil. He questioned her and said, listen, How many dates have we been on and where did we go? And she did not remember them all. I remember specific times and dates, and him would box her up and thump her up if she don't know, if she didn't answer correctly. And every time him burn her and send her to go and cool down the burn under the shower, him say, thank me for what I'm doing to you. I think a thank you is in order. And when she come out of the bathroom, him spin her round, turn her round and say he's admiring his handiwork. And this is something that was not spur of the moment. This went on for 3 days. Now, the next thing you might ask is this. How was she missed over those 3 days? I mean, those are 3 days. Why wasn't there any alarm? Well, I'm not sure about that, but I think one of the reasons could have been in a university, people does different modules. And therefore, you and somebody else might be doing the same course, but you might be doing different modules at any specific time. So you might not necessarily meet up in the same class on the same day. Therefore, you would not necessarily miss somebody in a day or two, you know? Another question you might ask is, but she lives in a separate dorm and she lived with, I know she shared her accommodation, so there was at least one more person in her dorm or at least another 2. And the question then is, why were they not alarmed? Since he, the monster, you know, he lived in a dorm he lives in his own room because he's one of those exclusive person who needed his own room, and his parents made sure of that. The young lady, on the other hand, shared room. So you might ask, why were they not alarmed? Here's the thing, and here is one of the possible reasons. This boy, from him meet her, him don't allow her to sleep in her own room. She maintained it and she keep her clothes there, and she would come down sometime and bathe or maybe change or so, but she had to sleep in a for him room when night come. So because them used to her rarely sleeping in her bed, they didn't raise any alarm because they figured more or less she's up there with him. So that's a possible explanation as to why this took so long to come out. As a matter of fact, it never come out until she herself, the victim herself, had to make it known. Now, you're all going to want to know how she managed to escape. Well, she had to friend him up and tell him, said, listen man, I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to say anything, I'm back with you, I love you, I care about you, I'm never going to think of leaving you again. I was really stupid in thinking so, I was just trying to test you to see how much you loved me, and so on and so forth. Because she said that at the time, according to her testimony that she gave in court, she felt he was going to kill her. And she didn't feel she was going to come out of it alive. And she said the only thing she could have thought of in order to get out of it was to apply to any innermost feeling of compassion that he had. She knew she had to calm him down. And by the 3rd day, she had get him to believe that she was on his side, part of his team, would never be walking out again on him or even think of doing so, and that all he had to do was to let her go. So she said to him, listen, I can't go out there with all these burns on my body because even though I don't want to say anything to anybody, it will be obvious that I'm hurt. What I want you to do is to go to the pharmacy and buy some medication, some ointments or what that we can put on the burns and so on. I'm willing to stay in your flat with you for another few more days till it's not so obvious, and then I can go. So do that and we cool. He went out doing just that, and he locked her in the room. He locked her in. For some reason, and I don't understand it, how he managed to do this, but him left her phone in the apartment with her, and what she did, she took some pictures of all the burns and she sent it to her parents and let them know that she has been kidnapped, she's been held hostage, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. And that was when the alarm was raised and police get involved and everything, and they had to come, and the security personnel for the university had to use their master key and let themselves in and realize what was going on. So that was how the matter came to light. And for the next 24 hours, the university hushed it up. They didn't tell anybody on the dorm, not even anybody in the next door room to where the incident happened, knew what was going on. It was people who eventually leaked it from the security desk of the university, leaked it off the record. And then the newspaper got a hold of it. And then social media took it up. That was when 2 days later the university held a conference for the residents in that dorm to say something. So if the boy was a serial killer, he could have gone about and done more damage at other places, because they didn't, for a full 24 hours, the university raised no alarm whatsoever, none. Now, the scars on her face, they are slightly faded, but you can see where they are still there. Some parts of her body, like on her chest and her buttocks, and between her two breasts, they have a thing called hyperpigmentation, where they start turning black. And other places was so badly burned that when it healed, it turned keloid, like on her bottom, and on her shoulder, and on one side of her jaw. Man, this boy was totally evil. Now, when it went to court in September of this year, because the incident happened February last year, 6th of February last year, it went for trial and he pleaded guilty this September 2024. And he was sentenced on Monday the 16th, that day before yesterday. But before I go into that, I need to tell you the type of charges what he was charged with. He was charged with assault occasioning grievous bodily harm. Now, I want you to understand that charge, assault occasioning grievous bodily harm. So if I remember right, there are 4 types of assaults on the Jamaican law books. There is common assault, assault at common law, assault causing actual bodily harm, and the most egregious one is assault occasioning grievous bodily harm. In the US or Canada or so on, this is actually called attempted murder. So basically, assault occasioning grievous bodily harm is when you harm somebody to the point where it shows they intend to kill them. But we don't say attempted murder. This is our version of that charge. So that is some damn serious. Of course, there are other charges, but we wouldn't even go into them, because there was malicious communication. The fact that he had sent over her pictures to embarrass her, send it over the WhatsApp and other forms of media. And there was false imprisonment and so on and so forth. At the trial, the young lady could not even turn up personally. She did it over via a video link. Well, as I said, he pleaded guilty in September, and when he came up on the 16th, that's Monday, for sentencing, he received 13 years, or I think 14 years. And now they're going to deduct from that the 1 year I think he spent 1 year and 10 months in jail already. So that's going to be deducted from his sentence, from the time he's going to spend there. And one thing you have to understand, certain people who feel say them too privileged. You know what the parents of this little monster did? They paid to the court, they paid over to the victim $2 million in the hope that it would get him a lighter sentence. The $2 million were handed over to the victim's lawyer, and of course, she got it, and that was mentioned in court. But that never swayed the judge, even though considering the 3 days of constant torture and with the scars that this girl will have to carry, both physically and mental and emotional scars that she's stuck with until the day she died. And now that the case is over, the victim is planning to sue him in a civil court for further damages. Which of course I don't really blame her. Another thing we need to understand about this fellow was his behavior in how he interacted with his fellow students on campus. He was rather a very pompous person, he was smug, and he didn't talk much. So, because he was aloof and so taciturn, he really didn't have a lot of friends or a lot of even acquaintances on campus. Because him feeling was all that. And you know, that is the reason why I say all the time, you see people who are outspoken, I find them easier to get along with. The monsters are always the quiet ones in the end. Yeah man, me get along fine with the Virago them, you know, because at least you know where they stand at all times. And they tend not to be hypocrites. But those very reserved ones, watch them carefully. And the way this guy was so systematic and brutally deliberate in the way he tortured this girl, even the judge, Justice Carolyn Typowell, had to take a break before she could even sum up thoroughly to sentence him. In other words, this lady, the judge, was on the verge of tears because she's saying that in all her years on the bench, she has never come across a case as severe as this one. Now, I am glad that he's taken off the street, and so does every decent Jamaican. His parents, I think, are partially to be blamed for this. Because when you have picnic and you treat them and let them feel totally entitled to everything, they are going to see the world as theirs and see the people that they interact with as being theirs. And that's why he was able to take this young lady and think that it is his own personal property to do as he wanted to do with. And he never thought that there would have been any consequences, because after all, him parents have money and could buy out anybody. Well, not this time. He did this crime when he was only 19 years old. Now, young ladies, let this be a lesson to you. If you have a man and he wants to search your phone or search your body or accuse you of having man, walk away. Nobody can control anybody's life. Slavery done. A woman must be free to love a man and vice versa, as you wish. Nobody should try to force loyalty or commitment on anybody. As a matter of fact, it cannot be forced. I mean, you can't force. It can't. It's impossible. So when you find one of these control freaks, one of these narcissists, just walk away. Guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, leave a comment below, and I look forward to see you in my next video.